The day they turned him out, the sky was too clear for something so final. No clouds, no wind, just a wide, empty blue that stretched over the dry hills like nothing in the world could ever change. Caleb noticed that first, not the way his mother stood in the doorway with her arms folded, or the way his stepfather wouldn't meet his eyes. It was the sky, endless and indifferent, that told him there was no turning this moment around. "You're old enough," his stepfather said, voice flat, as if he were talking about a broken tool. 17's plenty. Caleb stood on the porch with his small canvas bag in his hand. It wasn't much. A spare shirt, a blanket, a bit of dried food he'd taken before they could stop him. Everything else he owned was still inside that house, and somehow that made it easier to leave. Nothing tied him down. His mother didn't speak. She kept her gaze somewhere over his shoulder, as if he were already gone. "I can work," Caleb said quietly. "I been working. You eat," his stepfather replied. "That's enough work for you." The words landed harder than any slap. Caleb swallowed, looking once more at his mother. "Ma." Her eyes flickered just for a second. Something like regret, or maybe fear, passed through them. Then it was gone. "Go," she said, barely above a whisper. That was all. No apology, no explanation. Just go. So he did. He stepped off the porch and walked down the dirt path without looking back. Not because he didn't want to, but because he knew if he did, he might stop. And stopping would mean begging, and begging would mean staying where he wasn't wanted. By the time he reached the road, the house was already disappearing behind the bend. He kept walking. At first, he didn't have a plan, just a direction away. The road stretched through scrubland and low hills, dotted with the occasional fence or abandoned structure. He passed no one for hours. The sun climbed higher, pressing heat into his shoulders, but he didn't slow. There was a strange kind of freedom in it. No orders, no shouting, no watching someone else's mood to see what kind of day it would be. Just silence, but silence, he would learn, had its own weight. By late afternoon, his steps began to drag. The food he'd taken was nearly gone, and the water from his small canteen was warm and low. The land around him shifted gradually, the hills growing steeper, the brush thicker. He hadn't meant to go this far off, but turning back wasn't an option, so he kept going forward. As the sun began to dip, he climbed a ridge to get a better look at what lay ahead. That's when he saw the smoke. It rose in a thin, steady line from the hillside beyond, dark against the fading sky. Smoke meant fire, fire meant people, and people meant a chance. Relief flooded him so quickly it almost made him dizzy. He adjusted the strap of his bag and started toward it, his pace picking up despite his exhaustion. The thought of a cabin, a warm meal, maybe even a place to rest for the night, it pulled him forward like a promise. The smoke didn't waver. It rose straight and certain, like it had somewhere to be. But as he drew closer, something began to feel off. The hillside wasn't what he expected. There was no clearing, no path leading up to a cabin, no sign of livestock or tools or anything that suggested someone lived there. Just rocks and dry grass and scattered trees. Still, the smoke was there, stronger now, darker. He slowed as he approached the base of the hill, his instincts prickling in a way he couldn't quite explain. The air smelled wrong, not like cooking or a hearth fire, but something heavier, sharper. He climbed carefully, his boots slipping on loose stones. "Hello," he called out. No answer, only the crackle of something burning. At the top he stopped. There was no cabin, no structure at all, just a blackened patch of earth, still smoldering, and at its center ash, thick, gray, uneven, as if something had burned there not long ago. Caleb frowned, stepping closer. The heat still radiated from the ground, warming his face. The smoke curled upward from what remained, but there was nothing recognizable left. No beams, no walls. Nothing that looked like a home, just gone. That don't make sense, he murmured. He crouched, studying the ground. The burn pattern was strange, too contained. It hadn't spread outward like a wildfire would. It had stayed in one place, intense and focused, like whatever burned had been deliberate. A chill crept up his spine. "Hello," he called again, louder this time. Still nothing. He stood there for a long moment, the silence pressing in around him, broken only by the soft hiss of dying embers. Then he noticed something else. Tracks, not many, but enough. Boot prints leading up the hill, and then away. He followed them with his eyes. They didn't lead to a cabin. They didn't circle back. They just left. As if whoever had been here had gone in a hurry, or been taken. Caleb straightened slowly, his heart beginning to pound. He wasn't alone out here. Not really. And whatever had happened on this hillside had happened recently. Too recently. He took a step back, suddenly aware of how exposed he was. The open hill, the fading light. No shelter, no protection. He should leave, find somewhere else, somewhere safer. But his feet didn't move. Because beneath the sharp smell of ash, there was something else, faint, almost hidden. He knelt again, brushing aside a layer of soot with his hand. The ground beneath was hard, packed dirt, and there, just barely visible, a shape, not natural, not random. A straight line. He cleared more ash, revealing the edge of something buried. Wood, darkened but intact. Not burned through. His pulse quickened. Carefully, he dug further, ignoring the heat that stung his fingers. More wood emerged, a frame, a square. It took him a moment to understand what he was looking at. A hatch. Hidden beneath the ash, his breath caught. "That ain't right," he whispered. Cabins didn't disappear and leave hatches behind. Unless the cabin wasn't what mattered. Unless it had never been the real thing at all. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the edge. Every instinct told him to walk away, but another voice, quieter and stubborn, pushed back. "You've got nowhere else to go." He swallowed. Then he grabbed the edge of the hatch and pulled. It didn't budge. He adjusted his grip, bracing his foot against the ground, and tried again. This time it shifted, just enough. A thin line of darkness appeared beneath. A breath of air escaped from below, cool, damp, and carrying a scent that made his stomach tighten. Not decay, not exactly, but close. He froze, listening. For a moment there was nothing. Then a sound. Faint, so faint he almost thought he imagined it. A whisper, or maybe a breath, coming from beneath the ground. Caleb's heart hammered in his chest. "Hello," he called, his voice unsteady now. Silence. Then, again, that sound. Closer this time, not words, but not nothing either. He looked down at the hatch, at the darkness waiting below. And in that moment, he understood something that made his skin crawl. The smoke, it hadn't been from a cabin. It had been covering something, hiding something. His grip tightened on the wood. He should run. He knew he should. But instead, slowly, carefully, he pulled the hatch open. The hinges groaned softly, the sound too loud in the quiet evening. The darkness beneath yawned wide, swallowing the last of the light. He couldn't see the bottom, only a set of rough wooden steps leading down. And that sound, clearer now, breathing. Someone was down there. "Hey," he said, leaning forward slightly. You okay?" No answer, just that uneven breath. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting to see someone coming up the hill. But the land remained empty, still, waiting. He looked back into the darkness. Then, before he could think better of it, he stepped down. The air grew colder with each step, the smell stronger. His eyes struggled to adjust, but shapes began to form in the gloom. Walls, rough, hewn, close, the space was narrow, like a tunnel or a cellar. "Hello," he called again, softer now. The breathing stopped, completely. Caleb froze. "I ain't here to hurt you," he said quickly. I saw the smoke. Thought there was someone up here." Silence stretched. Long, heavy. Then, from somewhere deeper in the darkness, a voice. Weak, barely more than a whisper. "You shouldn't have opened it." Caleb's chest tightened. "I didn't know," he said. A pause. Then, "They'll come back." The words sent a chill straight through him. Who? No answer. Just the sound of someone shifting, of chains. No, not chains. Rope. He moved forward, slowly, his hands outstretched until they brushed against something. A wall, then a shape. A person, curled against the ground. He crouched down, his breath catching as his eyes adjusted enough to see. It was a girl, not much older than him. Her wrists were bound, her face pale beneath streaks of dirt and ash. Her eyes met his, and in them he saw something that mirrored his own fear. They burned it. She whispered, "To hide me." Caleb felt the world tilt beneath him. No cabin, no home, just a lie, and now he was part of it. "They'll think it's gone," she said. "They'll think I'm gone." He shook his head, his thoughts racing. "Then we gotta get you out." Her grip tightened weakly on his sleeve. "No," she said, "if they see the hatch, if they know, they already burned the place." He cut in. "Ain't nothing left to hide." She stared at him, uncertainty flickering across her face. Then, slowly, something else. "Hope, small, fragile, but there. You don't know what they'll do," she said. He met her gaze, steady despite the fear twisting inside him. "Maybe not," he said, "but I know what happens if we stay." For a moment neither of them moved. Then, finally, she nodded. And together, in the fading light of a world that had already tried to erase her, they began to climb out of the place that was never meant to be found.